Jane Austen.
Kia ora and welcome to this episode of The Image Austenite. I'm Frances Duncan, author, Austenite life coach. With me is Rachel Pilwer, Austenite, book buyer and all-round nerd.
Hi.
Today we're discussing chapter 32 of Emma by Jane Austen. Mrs. Elton arrives!
I wanted to woo, and then I was actually, no, boo,
Yeah,
boo, boo.
The way it's announced, Mrs. Elton was first seen at church. And then they all have to go and pay visits in form. Because it turns out that there's a whole thing that when a new bride appears, that everybody has to go and visit them. I guess because half the time they're moving somewhere new, so you've got to meet the whole neighbourhood.
Everyone else only has one name to remember. The most important people who would go first would be the ones best remembered. But actually, I feel like the later you go, the more memorable you'll be because they're not trying to remember all the people from before. She'll just remember you depending on how rich you are. If you're poor, she doesn't care.
Yeah, Mrs. Elton sucks. Emma, pretty aware that she's going to suck. But she's determined that she's not going to be the last person to visit. When she meets her, she doesn't like her. There's no elegance. Too much ease.
Mrs. Elton is very condescending to Emma when they first meet.
Mrs. Elton comes in thinking she's going to be the mistress of the village, and Emma's like, bitch, that's my role.
Yeah, you may be the vicar's wife, but honey, it means nothing.
Yeah, no, I'm going to marry Mr. Knightley, and then this will, for real, be my village.
Technically, is she second head female of the village, really, because she is the pastor's wife?
I think she has just had a bigger idea of what the vicar does in a village. Mr. Elton, Emma feels sorry for him because he's in the same room with the woman he has just married, the woman he wanted to marry, and the woman who he'd been expected to marry.
I think he got the worst of the three.
Did! Although, looking at Emma and Mrs. Elton next to each other, maybe Mr. Elton likes confident women.
True, which would obviously have taken Harriet out of contention anyway. Confident women, especially at this time, I think were confident because of the privileges they had. It still, I think, in the end, does come back to how wealthy they are, their standing, their breeding. He wouldn't settle for a lower class woman.
Well, Mrs. Elton is kind of lower class, but she's got the money.
Yeah.
She likes to think she's not lower class because she keeps going on and on about her brother-in-law who has Maple Grove. Maple Grove, everything is Maple Grove, right?
I mean, it does sound like a really nice, like just the name, Maple Grove.
Her brother-in-law has only moved into it recently. So either his father bought it or he bought it. So they're not actually landed gentry. Yeah.
Remind me where her money came from?
Trade.
We know how Emma feels about people in trade.
But somehow Mr. Weston's fine. He earned his money through trade, but that's okay.
Well, she would never marry Mr. Weston. But her friend / mother / governess fell in love with him. He is friends with her father. Like, she's known him all her life. She's probably got a better opinion of him just because of that. Then say, better than the Coles because
they're new. Emma makes Harriet go with her on this visit, which I think is mean.
It's so mean.
But she wants to get it out of the way and make sure that Harriet's dealing with it.
Imagine if you had a crush on someone and then found out that actually that person not only didn't like you, but like barely even thought of you at all. And then they left for a while and you were like, I'm getting over this. And then they come back with their new partner and it gets shoved in your face and you have to go and pay your respects to the new partner. It makes me want to vomit. Poor Harriet. She really gets such a raw deal throughout the entire book.
She does. Like, she's lucky she gets her happy ending.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the rest of it's pretty shitty.
But I think, who actually goes through the most strife in this book? How many times does her heart get broken? The loss of the Martins, I think, is a heartbreak. The loss of Mr. Elton is a heartbreak. Liking Mr. Knightley, and then obviously Mr. Knightley and Emma get together, that's a heartbreak. Then her and Emma just kind of stop being friends, which I guess could also be a heartbreak. And then, she finally does get her one true love in the end, which actually she gets the best deal of all of the men. But compared to everybody else, they're living these dramatic lives and whatever, but nobody's getting as much of a raw deal as Harriet is.
You gotta feel for her. She has no idea of the precariousness of her situation either.
No.
You don't have money settled on you. You have an allowance that comes. La la la, going around spending my allowance, not thinking about the future. Her future is pretty precarious. In a sense, it's nice that Emma's trying to make sure that she's settled.
How long is that allowance going to last? Because does it last until she's 18? Does it last until she's finished school? Does it last until she's married? Does it last until...
Well, she's finished school. She's just living at the school
She's just
now.
living at the school. Does it last until she comes of age? Like, how long is she actually getting this allowance? Because at some point that money's surely got to run out. Like, where is this money coming from?
We
She
don't
doesn't know. That money could be here today, gone tomorrow.
And
so,
she doesn't seem aware of the fact.
no. I wouldn't even call it willfully ignorant, because she's never probably been taught about these kind of things. So many people don't get taught about taxes and stuff. What is this money coming out of my paycheck? That's tax. Like, how are you supposed to know something if no one ever teaches you about it? She doesn't know the questions to ask.
Well, because a woman doesn't need to understand things about money. But really, you do.
Everybody should.
Everybody should.
Poor Harriet's there just enjoying life, frolicking through the shops, buying ribbon or whatever. And she does end up in a fortunate situation with the Martins where, you know, she will be well cared for the rest of her days. And she's got a man who knows all about money. I feel like Mr. Martin would happily teach Harriet about money in the world.
I'm not sure how well she'd take those lessons.
No, I don't think she'd understand it overly well, but she'd probably just get really distracted looking at him, being like, oh, wow, he's so beautiful and handsome. He'd go out of his very busy day in order to help her understand.
Because he's so sweet.
She's so sweet. Get out of the room, Harriet. Go back to the farm. The Eltons aren't worth shit.
When they leave, Harriet's like wanting Emma to talk about it. I'm not at all surprised he should have fallen in love. And Emma's like, yeah, no, that's not surprising. A pretty fortune, and she came in his way. And then says, it's not every man's fate to marry the woman who loves him best. Miss Hawkins, Mrs. Elton, probably wanted a home and thought this was the best offer she was likely to have. Probably true.
Yeah, that's true. It's a lot of insight from Emma, which is unsurprising. It's also then kind of slightly against what Emma tries to do. Yes, she's trying to set up people into the most advantageous matches that she can. But I think in the end she does want people to, like, be in love.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's also why she likes Mr. Weston, is because she prides herself on getting them together, Mr. and Mrs. Weston.
And they are truly
And
love
they're
each other.
truly in love. What's her track record? Do we even know her full track record?
No other matches are ever mentioned. So
Yeah.
really, she's done it once and suddenly everyone brands her as a matchmaker. She does it once, she thinks about doing it again. Well,
She tries and fails.
Doesn't get anywhere.
It's not everyone's fate to marry the man who loves them best. And it's like, well, Harriet may have been the person who would love Mr. Elton best, because there's no way Emma could ever love him. And Miss Hawkins probably doesn't.
She's more caring about herself.
But-
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Harriet probably could love Mr. Elton. And
Harriet was genuine in her affection to him, even though all of those thoughts were being put in her head by Emma. Harriet isn't the brightest cookie in the jar, and she's very gullible and easily influenced. And I think she could very easily be persuaded that she loved someone. But I think she's also one of those people who has a very open heart and could just easily fall in love with anybody. And I think she'd always hold a candle for Mr. Martin because that's her first love. But I think she still would have loved Mr. Elton more genuinely than Miss Hawkins.
because it's almost hero worship, whereas Mrs. Elton was just wanting an establishment and wanting to parade about.
And wanting, like, a name and power. It's not quite what she gets, but it still makes Miss Hawkins the best match for Mr. Elton, because the two of them are both ambitious. Harriet ends up with the person who loves her best, and vice versa. And while Mr. and Mrs. Elton don't love each other best, they have made, I think, maybe one of the best matches because they are so equal.
Shared values, shared goals.
Exactly. Are, in a bit of a way, a power couple. They have a very strong foundation for their relationship. Because, yeah, it's not built on friendship, it's not built on love. Probably built on mutual attraction, though, because they're both described to be attractive. Over time, they could very well fall in love. They're not going to find anybody, I think, who would suit them as well.
It's surprising that they found each other, and it just kind of worked.
So I think it works out for them, and not every relationship, I guess, has to start off with, like, blinding love, and love can grow slow.
Yes, I agree with that.
Emma and Mr. Knightley aren't in love for, well...
Depends how you look at it,
Depends how you
right?
look at it.
It's like, are they secretly in love behind the scenes and they don't realise? Or do they fall in love during the course of the novel? Who knows?
I think Emma falls in love during the course of the novel. Mr. Knightley's already in love throughout the novel. She wouldn't have grown up in love with him, you know, because she's known him literally from, like, her birth. Their love has built over time as they know each other. Saying that, it's not that Emma falls in love. Emma realises she's in love. I think it's not until Emma gets jealous that someone else might be after Mr. Knightley's affections that she actually realises, no, this one is mine. I love this one.
Which is the same for him, right? Because Frank
Yeah.
Churchill comes on the scene and he's like, oh, no. When it's Jane Fairfax and Mr. Knightley, Emma's like, no. And then Harriet, she's like, oh, God, no.
Oh, no. Yeah. They just need to see the other person potentially coveted by someone else for the two of them to actually get their heads out of their asses. So they probably are in love in some way before this.
Well, they flirt right in the first chapter. The whole visiting thing that people do, you go to one person, you go to their place, and then they come to your place to return the visit. And that's how you make friends and acquaintances. The whole village has to introduce themselves to Mrs. Elton, and then she goes and visits them in return. So then you get to know people, and so you know people in your community, and you can start to make, I wanted to say alliances.
I mean, I guess if you don't go back, you don't go and visit one person, it's a bit of a slight on them if they visited you.
At what point do you stop doing the back and forth? Well, I mean, they're all really short visits. They're like 10, 15 minutes is the appropriate time to visit. So you could go and visit people you didn't like.
Which I guess is how Emma sometimes seems to feel about the Bates. It's definitely how she feels about some of the other people she visits. Also because of her position, she feels obligated to do it. But I guess it would be like, okay, you visited me, I visited you, now we're not. They visit you again, then what are you supposed to do?
You have to keep going round and round. With the Bates, I feel like you'd want to turn up with something because Miss Bates is always like, have some cake, we have cake. And you're like, oh, I don't want to eat all your cake. So you feel like you'd have to turn up with something. They talk about this in Sense and Sensibility. Mrs. Dashwood was choosing not to dine at Barton House.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't dined at the cottage as often, so she wanted to do the back and forth thing. But she was fine with her daughters going.
Because she wanted to make that more mutual relationship.
Mrs. Elton returns Emma's visit, and Emma was very like, I don't want to make any snap judgments. I will wait till I see her again. And then she's like, no, I was so right the first time I met her. She's vain, well satisfied with herself, thinks very much of her own importance, and she meant to shine and be very superior.
Which is hilarious that Mrs. Elton tries to do that in Emma's giant house. I'm so important and impressive sitting in this parlour that is probably the size of most of her downstairs or whatever, you know?
Well, she immediately starts talking about Maple Grove. The second she sits down, like, we're so equal because my sister lives at Maple Grove. How much Maple Grove is like your house? Oh my God. It's so like your house. Emma's
Why don't you live there then? Why didn't you marry your brother or whatever, your brother-in-law?
And Emma doesn't really put much into the conversation because Mrs. Elton only wanted to be talking herself. Because Mrs. Elton had been at the top of her group in the society because she had money. You know, they were all from trade, but she had money and stuff. And her brother-in-law has land now. She still thinks she's the shit when she's really not. Because now she's amongst real landed gentry.
And she doesn't know how to handle it. She just wants to try and seem like she's still on their level.
So she's talking so much about Maple Grove and saying that her brother-in-law and sister will love seeing Hartfield because people with extensive grounds always please with things in the same style. And Emma's like, pretty sure people with extensive grounds don't care about the grounds of anybody else, but doesn't say it. She's doing so well to try and avoid an argument. Mrs. Elton says, Surrey is the Garden of England. And Emma's like, yeah, lots of counties have that. And she's like, nope, only Surrey. Okay, cool. We're not going to fight about this.
Emma doesn't want to cause any argument or discourse with Mrs. Elton. She just doesn't want to engage with this woman who is a bit of an idiot. But she doesn't want to be seen as the other woman. I think it's pretty clear that Miss Hawkins knows, or Mrs. Elton knows, that Mr. Elton had tried to propose to Emma, which I think is...
You reckon?
I always got that feeling reading the book, that she knows, which is another reason why she is always trying to be so superior to Emma, is I think a feeling of jealousy, that actually Emma could have had the life that she has, that Emma was the first choice. She wouldn't have anything if Emma hadn't turned him down. I always got the sense that Mrs. Elton knew that, or got an inkling of that, especially when she meets Emma. It's like, oh, this is the woman that he actually wanted, and I'm the one that he got. But I also think that Emma is like, I mean, yeah, she really doesn't care about what Miss Elton thinks, but I think she would hate to come across as being bitter in any way. Like, Emma obviously didn't want Mr. Elton, and now that Mrs. Elton is here, Emma doesn't want to seem like she's either jealous or envious of what they have. Like, yeah, they're married, okay, cool. She doesn't want people to think, oh, Emma could have had that if only she had not shot him down. I think that would be a really big thing in it, like, for Emma to think about.
There's a whole thing about they're mean to Harriet because they can't be mean to Emma. It must be in the next chapter. Mrs. Elton goes on about her brother-in-law, Mr. Suckling, a lot, and how he has a Bruges Landau. So he's got...
Sorry, I hate his name so much.
Mr. Suckling. It always makes me think of a pig, and I wonder if that's intentional. Is that why he's Mr. Suckling?
Well, was Suckling used to describe, like, as, like, suckling pigs? Was that a thing back then when Austen was writing?
I'm not sure.
But it's always what I think of.
And Mr. Suckling is extremely fond of exploring, like a pig going searching for mushrooms.
I think it's intentional.
And Emma's like, we don't really go out that much around here. We don't do schemes of pleasure. This line from Mrs. Elton is often quoted. There is nothing like staying at home for real comfort. And it reminds me of the line from Miss Bingley in Pride and Prejudice. There is no enjoyment like reading. They're both said by characters who don't actually believe what they're saying. But that doesn't mean that Austen doesn't believe it. It's like a thing that Shakespeare does. I'm not going to be able to remember the exact example. One of the silly characters in Hamlet, I think, says something like really profound, but because it's coming out of the mouth of an idiot, people don't
pay. People don't pay attention or believe it. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if this is something Austen sort of picked up from Shakespeare.
I think she would. We know that she would want people to enjoy reading because she's literally writing books.
Yeah, and she does that whole defense of the novel in Northanger Abbey.
I think actually she is saying what she wants through characters who can't be trusted. But I think she's probably done that on purpose to try and make it seem like she's not purporting her own ideas into the novel. She's still putting it in there, but is trying not to, like, force feed that ideology to people.
Yeah, because there is nothing like staying at home for real comfort.
So true, though.
So true. Mr. Woodhouse would say the same thing.
Yeah. Stay home, guys.
Don't go out.
That home is where the heart is, and I actually assume it's supposed to be the hearth and not the heart, is I think what the original saying was meant to be.
Yes,
home is where the hearth is. And because it's where it's warm and cozy. It's where bed is. I love bed. It's one of the reasons why I would be terrible at working from home. And I've tried it a handful of times, trying to do my bank from home. All of my distractions are at home. Everything. At least if I'm physically at work, I'm like, cool. There's other distractions, but they're all work related, and I'm still doing work if I'm distracted. But I'm trying to do something at home. I'm like, I might as well listen to something on the put something on the TV while I'm working. Start watching TV. Start watching a movie. Oh, I'm hungry. I'm gonna go and use my stove to make this really big lunch. Home is great, but
it's funny because it's the opposite for me. Like, if I'm at home, I can focus on work. If I'm in an office, there's people trying to talk to me and there's stuff going on and I can't focus and get anything done. Well, I mean, I still do, but it's harder. It's really draining.
Our different ADHDs.
Then Mrs. Elton, the audacity, talks about Emma's situation. Your father's state of health must be a great drawback. Like, I understand that you're stuck at home because your father. Why don't you go to Bath? Bath is great. I can introduce you to people. You can stay with my particular friend, Mrs. Partridge, who I always stay with when I go to Bath. She will introduce you into society. And Emma's like, what now?
Yeah, no, thank you.
I don't want to be indebted to Mrs. Elton to go into public being a friend of Mrs. Elton's. No.
Yeah.
No.
That'd be bad. But also, who are you to comment on her father's state of health? Has she even met Emma's father at this point?
Yeah, she would have met him when she came to visit them. Emma is outraged and indignant, and to prevent this, she just changes the subject. There's no point arguing with this bitch.
I would argue. I'd be like, don't you talk about this stuff that you have no understanding of?
She comes up with this scheme of having a musical club and just like inviting people to Emma's house, being like, so we have that at my house and your house because we're like the grand houses of the neighborhood. And Emma's like, what?
Really determined to try and fit herself into Emma's circle.
We're equals. No, you are the wife of the vicar. I run this town. I love my music. I have to keep it up. But married women are so busy. My sister gave it up. Again, it's bringing me back to Sense and Sensibility because Lady Middleton gave up music as soon as she got married. And it seems like a lot of women did because music was a way to attract a husband. And then when that is done, they give it up.
Don't need it anymore.
And Emma tries to argue with her about it. Be like, you don't have to give it up. But Emma discovers that she's determined to neglect her music. Mrs. Elton complains about spending half an hour with the housekeeper this morning. She doesn't understand the role of a mistress of a home because she's never been taught. So she doesn't know that that is normal. You will need to spend time with your housekeeper to go over the menus for the week and to plan things because you are managing the household.
Yeah, these are the social engagements we have coming up. These are the preparations that need to be made. Oh, we're going to have this guest stay. Please ensure that their rooms are ready. It's getting colder. My father needs extra blankets. Make sure that happens. How much money do you need for the groceries? Okay, how much money did we spend last week on this thing? Okay.
Yeah.
So many little things.
She's just like, they're servants. They should be doing their job. At one point later, she's like, I don't know, whenever I meet, we have so many of them. Like, no, that's actually showing that you don't have class, that you don't know who your servants are and you don't know what they do.
It's such a disrespect, not treating them like people.
Talk about disrespect. When she meets Mrs. Weston, she's like, well, she's motherly and kind-hearted, but I was astonished to find her ladylike. She's quite the gentlewoman. And was like, yeah, she's a good model for any young woman. She was your governess. How could she possibly? What? Like, they wouldn't be really careful with who was raising Emma. And, Emma's like, oh, thank God she's gone now. Happily, it was now time to be gone. And then, her talking about Mr. Knightley, discovering that he is a gentleman.
Yeah, why is that a surprise? Like,
I wonder if it's because Mr. Elton talks about Mr. Knightley walking everywhere. And he cares about his farms and stuff. He actually cares about his estate. Maybe because Mrs. Elton wasn't raised with landed gentry, she doesn't understand that there's still work required, that you need to talk with the servants, you need to talk with the tenants, you need to manage everything. So the fact that Mr. Knightley is involved with his tenants and he's involved in the running of his farms and his estate, and the fact that he just walks because he doesn't have a lot of spare cash to run his carriage all the time.
Am I right in saying that Mr. Knightley doesn't think much of Mr. Elton? They're not, like, friends. They don't spend time together outside of, like, group activities and church and things.
Obviously, they talk because it's Mr. Knightley's village and Mr. Elton is the vicar of it. They have to talk about that. We do know that Mr. Knightley was not impressed about Mr. Elton saying that he knew a family of girls with £20,000 each who he could marry any of them.
Maybe Mr. Elton has purposely downplayed things to Mrs. Elton before they arrived, so that way he seemed better. Oh yeah, this guy's kind of weird, we don't really like him, but...
Well, because he talks about my friend Knightley all the time, so that's why she was so excited to meet him. We never really know what's going on exactly in their relationships because we don't see it.
Yeah, it's really difficult to make informed guesses on things that you just have to speculate on.
The chapter ends with this whole thing about Mr. Woodhouse going, I hope she doesn't mind that I didn't go and visit her, because not to wait upon a bride is very remiss. A bride ought to be paid my respects. Every proper attention should be paid to a lady, a bride especially is never to be neglected. More is due to her. A bride is always the first in company, let anyone else be who they may. And you see that later when they have the dinner, that she goes into dinner first. Emma's like, you sure you're not just trying to encourage people to marry, Dad? He's like, no, you know I don't want people to marry. No one should ever get married. No. But at what point do they stop being a bride? And does Emma get her superiority back? Because it's just running into Mrs. Elton's ideas of superiority that she is first in company because she's a bride.
Yeah.
But maybe she also doesn't realise this, so she just thinks she's first in company.
Yeah, at what point does she realise, I've got to step back again, I'm not a bride anymore? Do you wait until a new bride is in town or until someone else gets married? Like, is it like, oh, you've got this 1 month of being important and then...
Yeah, the social hierarchy is really confusing. Because I don't get the landed versus moneyed thing. And a bride's going to be super important, more so than anybody else who has titles and money. And I'm like, how does that work? How long does that last? It's super confusing.
Yeah. We need more clarity, Jane. Please. Please, can you write just a little excerpt so that we can have like a bit more understanding? Thanks.
When Emma goes to visit Mr. Elton, she's thinking about how awkward it all is, and she's in the room where she broke her lace and was trying to tie it up so to give Harriet and Mr. Elton time alone. She's thinking about compliments, charades, and horrible blunders. It's interesting that the word blunder comes up because remember, it gets really important later.
Foreshadowing.
She doesn't like Mrs. Elton.
And can you blame her?
No.
Odious woman. I was about to say, I'm so glad I don't know a Mrs. Elton in real life, and now I've got to stop and think, do I actually know a Mrs. Elton in real life? I don't think so.
You wouldn't want to hang out with her.
No.
Mrs. Elton sucks.
Mrs. Elton sucks.
And that is our discussion of Chapter 32 of Emma by Jane Austen. I've been Frances Duncan. This has been Rachel Pilwer.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. We wish you happy reading. There's a Maple Grove in Mongaraki.
What? Let's go. So guys, cutting the podcast short, going to Mongaraki.
She's quite the gentleman.
Oh.
Gentlewoman.